play.
So anyone else from Castle you're thinking about reading?
You can always tell what I'm watching, can't you, by who I'm casting? You really can. And as you watch the next couple of films that come up, to go, oh, she's been watching that. Oh, she's been watching that. But I can't help it. And I was just saying that Joss Whedon is like my casting guru. I'll watch whatever he's working on, just go, well, I could cast any one of those actors because they're all so good. And literally now, with the exception of one actor, I've hired everybody from Firefly. Every single actor who worked as a regular on Firefly, I've actually hired at this point.
Well, now you have a goal.
See?
Yeah. One actor.
I'll get her. I'll get that last one. Okay. There's only one actress left. I'll get her. What can I tell you?
Well, what made you choose Santa and Molly? And especially Matt. That was such an unexpected choice.
Oh, interesting. We wanted a different sound for Superman in that he is a slightly younger Superman. And there was a real vulnerability that we needed for this role. And I speak about Superman because he's a different kind of superhero in that he's got all this ridiculous strength. But there's also got to be a vulnerability to him. There's got to be an emotional side that makes sense, that we go, okay, he will beat the heck out of whatever villain he's dealing with, but he also will fall in love. And that's really important, that we have to, I saw you typing on my cheat sheet, that he's got this human emotion, and he's able to express the loss of his planet and the loss of his family, and then this reunion with Kara, and kind of taking her under his wing and showing her how to use her powers in this new world. And that's why Molly is so wonderful, because she's also got that vulnerability too, and yet she's a teenage-sounding girl who's got this strength and these angers and these real strong emotions that have to be kept in check, because she's an emotional girl, but she can kill somebody if she's not careful. So, lots of teenage girls want to kill. She's got the real ability to do it. And so there's a really delicate line you have to walk there. And Molly's such a fine actress. And I remember when I first started watching Castle, and I had known Nathan before that, but when I first saw the show, the very first episode, I forget, I called Nathan or texted him or emailed him or some form of communication, just said, you and Molly are crazy good together. Did you know her before? Because there's such a synergy there. And I was asking him about some bits of business that they chose to do in that first episode. And I don't know how many of you saw that first episode, but there's a moment when they come down that long hallway in that stunning apartment, where she's got big fuzzy socks on, and she's sort of leaning her body back against his, and he's just pushing her through the floor like a wheelbarrow almost. And I thought, was that written, or did you guys come up with that? And I think they told me that was a bit of business they came up with, where they just were playing, and they said, let's have this kind of relationship. And so I called him and I said, how's Molly to work with? And Bob is like, hire her. She's the best. Yeah. She's one of the finest young actresses I've ever worked with. In fact, she is.
Andrea, I mean, you're so experienced and you have such good instincts, such good taste. So, like, when you're recording and working with these actors, do you ever get the chance to take the reins and say, okay, this line, maybe we can say it a different word? Do you ever have to rewrite the lines for the actor?
Yes. And sometimes we'll have a line where an actor just can't say it. They just can't wrap their lips around the word. And so we'll work it a couple of times and try it. And then you reach a point after 3 or 4 takes that it starts to no longer make any sense. It's just them technically trying to work through the words. And so we'll rewrite the words. And then on that same vein, we'll talk about an interpretation of a line. And sometimes the actor just isn't getting it. And after 5, 6, 7 takes, it's not getting any better. And so I'll say, sometimes I'll ask if they mind me line reading them, and sometimes I'll just give them the line reading. And I've been doing this 25 years now, and only twice in my entire career has any actor ever said, please don't line read me. Because the truth of it is, I can take 15 more minutes for the actor to find it organically, or I can tell them how to do it. And usually they're like, no, just tell me. If you have an idea in mind, Andrea, just tell me what it is, and I'll try to make it my own. But absolutely, show me how to do it, and I'll do it.
I couldn't help but peek at your cheat sheet.
Yes.
Stephen Root, which Stephen Root did you cast?
Stephen works for me all the time on many, many different projects. And the truth of it is, there's a million roles that I could have given Stephen. And he's so kind, he's so well known, he's such a wonderful actor. And I don't think he has ever said no to me when I've offered him a role, unless it's just not available. He can't work with me at the time. So on this particular one, I hired him as Zor-El. and you know, I've heard of like blue collar guys and very elegant guys, and you know, this is an alien he's playing,
Yeah.
and he's so convincing and completely believable. And so I hire the actor and then work with them on finding the character.
Okay.
And sometimes they walk in the door and their first words out of their mouth are the character. Sometimes we work through it, you know, for 5 minutes, go, you know what, that's just not playing right, let's try something else, and work through it again. And then sometimes we get through an entire performance and go, you know what, the whole thing just isn't flowing, let's work the whole thing again. And so we do. Almost all these actors start to finish.
He also plays a great bunny rabbit.
What?
Thundercat, the director.
Wasn't that cool? I forgot all about that.
He's great.
Wasn't he great?
As a bunny.
I was very sad that that series went away.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with that series. The toys didn't sell and it wouldn't pick up anymore.
And when you're working with these actors, do you find as specifically dealing in the voice versus what you would see on in live action with actual scenes being played out, where a lot of the cast and crew that are watching these intense scenes get very emotional, they get taken over, do you find that there's a stronger connection perhaps or bond between you and the actors you work with because it's so intimate?
That's a very, very good point. It gets really intimate. It really does. I feel like I have these remarkable relationships with these actors after directing them for a couple of hours because I'm getting into their heads and they're getting into mine. And it's this wonderful, it's working, wonderful back and forth where it's like we are in a relationship right now. And we don't break up at the end of it. We stay in that relationship. But there are moments when I watched, like, when we were making Under the Red Hood, where the character playing Jason had to really lose it. And when we finished the scene, I was weeping. I was absolutely weeping. And then it's really weird because I'm behind the glass on a talkback button, and I'm like, give me just a second, Jensen. Do you have another one in you? Because we can do it one more time. But it's great when that happens. It's so wonderful when an actor can move me to tears. I've been working on that usually for weeks before I actually get them. And I've heard it in my head. I've played the scene over. I've thought about how I'd like it to sound. And that's what's so wonderful about actors that come in with their own ideas is they bring something that I didn't think of. And then they take it to a whole other level. And it's like, wow, let's go there. Let's do that. Let's go farther. And then those kind of really emotional scenes, I've always been of the mind that it's more interesting to hear an actor and watch an actor fight crying than it is to just watch them cry. Because to watch somebody really work against letting that emotion come out is just somehow more dramatic than just somebody weeping through a performance. It's just, I don't know, it's more dramatic for me. So that's what's kind of fun. And I'll play that scene 3 different ways. Not terribly emotional, fighting the emotion, and then completely losing. And we may use pieces of each one. We really do Frankenstein lines in a scene together, and we actually Frankenstein lines together. I like the first, you know, up to the first comma from take A. I like the second section from take B, and I like the third section from take C. And because we have the technology, in about 3 minutes, not even, in about 15 seconds, the engineer has edited that together and plays it for me. That's what we'll use.
You got to work with Brainiac as the villain before in the Superman series and then Justice League. So we get Brainiac as the villain again here. How similar is he different than how you got to work with Brainiac?
He's completely different than we've ever played him before. And the truth of it is, I met John Noble several years ago at Comic-Con at one of the Warner Brothers parties and went up and introduced myself and just said, I adore you. If there's a nice role that comes up in one of these DC Universe projects, would you come and play? He said, absolutely. A really lovely man, just so nice. I'm just meeting. He didn't know me really. And then I just kept looking for something, and then Brainiac came along and I went, ooh, I know who'd be really good and would have a completely different take on it. And he never even considered any kind of robotic version, which was really a nice way to go. And Brainiac's a tough character because he really isn't emotional. And so you have to find some way to keep him interesting. And what you do is you hire a really good actor, and they just get out of their way and let them do it.
Bob talked about how his favorite character was Lois, and he said she was kind of a badass. So was there something in Stunner that you saw in connecting those two characters?
Absolutely. I mean, if you watched her work in the past, you can see that she's done that already. When you watch her in Castle, she's, you know, that's what the wonderful dynamic about that series is that she's the tough guy and Castle is kind of he's not wimpy in any way, but he's kind of you know what I mean?
Stereotypical girl
It is. It's a reversal of roles. She's the police officer, tough guy, and he's a little bit more sensitive. And so we knew Stana could carry that toughness. And yet she's got that wonderful femininity about her, too. And what's so great is that she's not only able to bring that into her on-camera work, but she was able to make that translate into the voiceover work, and that's what's so great. She had a ball doing this, too. I really loved it. At the end of the ADR session, the last session we were doing, she's like, I want to do more. Can we do more? I'm like, well, I don't have anything right now. But next week, maybe. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.